tester for ProCircular, and she is going to teach us stuff.
Hello. All right, this is weird because normally I'm volunteering for CornCon, as I was an EICC student for the last 3 years. But yeah, so now I'm up here. So crazy how things change. So today I'm going to be talking about my very first year as a pen tester, and it was not anything like what I expected it would be, so I thought it would be fun to share. Sorry. My boss is here for commentary, just so we know. Who am I? I'm Alexis Diediker. I am an offensive cyber operations consultant. That is just a really fancy way of saying that people pay me to break into their systems and find everything that can go wrong, will go wrong, and what I can find and exploit so that they know what could happen in the event of an actual breach. So that's what I do for ProCircular. We are a cybersecurity firm out of Coralville, and I get to work remote and with a lot of awesome people, so I love it. I got my associates in IT cybersecurity at EICC. I graduated last winter. That was amazing, with honors, by the way. Now I go to WGU for my bachelor's, and I'll be going for my master's directly after that as well, because everybody loves an overachiever. And then I also got the amazing opportunity to get the SANS Institute's Women of Cyber scholarship, which got me 3 of their certifications. If you're familiar with their certifications, they are not cheap. So they basically gave me like a brand new vehicle for free. So that was tough, but a really great experience. And then some of my certifications, they call me a paper tiger on my team because I just went after it all. But yeah, just a little bit about me now and what I do. But we're here to learn about how my first year went. So May of 2023, I started my internship with ProCircular. I had no idea what I was getting into. I only knew what interns did on movies, like bringing coffee, fun things like that. They actually let me mess with stuff, which was probably out of their best interest. But I started with ProCircular. My interview, it was a different stage interview with different people, with Mr. Potter, Mr. Kuzma, who are now my bosses. I was terrified. I had no idea what I was talking about yet. Being in school, I had never had any tech experience before. I did not know what a hard drive was 5 years ago. So now you're letting me go through your networks. I just want to make that known. But I did not know anything. And when I started going to school, I was really lucky because I lucked out in knowing that I wanted to be a penetration tester and actually being severely obsessed with it to the point where it was 24/7. If I wasn't studying, I was doing Hack the Box. If I wasn't doing Hack the Box, I was listening to podcasts. I mean, it was an utter, and still is, an obsession. So I had a lot of info all at once, and my internship really put me hands-on with a lot of that. And then you get to learn again that you know absolutely nothing all over again. So yeah, my second week as an intern, I was forced to do a vishing call. If you're familiar with that, basically I have to call and pretend that I am somebody else. So this poor lady at a financial institute, I put on my best Midwest charm, called her, and got her to give me her current password, the new password she wanted to have, and I feel absolutely terrible to this day. So if she ever hears this talk, I want her to know that I'm deeply sorry. Yes, I'm deeply sorry. But that was just some of the things that they kind of threw me into the fire, and I tend to thrive in those kind of environments because I did used to call myself out of high school, so I kind of already had some experience. But yeah, things started off not very slow. Then August of 2023, I did a lot of shadowing, a lot of watching really brilliant people and what they do in the thick of it, and I honestly had no clue what was going on, to be completely honest. The tools we use as testers are not things that I generally learned in school, which is okay because I was there for my foundational learning. But it's like opening a whole new doorway you had no idea was there. And so it's a whole new fire hose. Then you have 2 coming at you. So it was a lot to learn. They gave me a study list of about 20 tools and said, go learn. And I personally love doing that and doing research. So that was a lot of fun, but yeah, they just kept throwing these weird, quirky. I remember Bobby made me sit in on a sales meeting just so I could help intimidate the person we were trying to buy a product from. Just a lot of fun stuff like that. So August was kind of where it all started to come together, and we had goals set for me. And at this point in time, I was still under the impression that for the next 5 years, I was going to be a help desk person, a SOC analyst, looking at errors, doing things I absolutely do not like to do. But Bobby made a deal with me that if I got my Network Plus, my Security Plus, and the PNPT, that I could come in under everybody's wing and become a penetration tester. I think I cried that day, the whole day, because that was a dream. That's been my dream since I started this career, this journey. So I said bet, and we went for it. So this is kind of my journey going towards that as well. In September, my appendix broke up with me. I had to have that removed. And unfortunately, 2 days after my surgery, I had the Network Plus set up to take at the testing center. I refused to move my date, so I wheeled myself into the testing center and somehow barely passed it because that's how obsessed I was, and I was ready to get this done and over with. And then I also passed the Security Plus a month later because I did study, but my boss said, don't study, just take it. So I somehow barely passed that as well, but a pass is a pass, so we got there. And other than that, it was more about kind of learning how engagements work and how they actually happen out in the wild. And I learned that you truly do have to think like a bad guy. You have to go in there and think about, what would I tinker with? What would somebody steal? What value would this have for taking? And you also have to find a way to be able to show the customers why that's important and why that's essential, because some people will see, a tax document and think nothing of it, and then you remind them, hey, social security numbers are on here. This is an easy win for the dark web. Anything like that, it's a sale. So things like that, and just generally breaches and explaining those to customers, you have to learn both sides. October 2023, I had started the SANS Cyber Academy. That was hard. It was very hard. They're very technical tests, and you're on a deadline because they're paying for it, obviously. So that, on top of all my certifications and still not being done with school yet, I was a psychopath. I think I slept next to all my study books. So yeah, it was a lot of hard work and focus. And luckily, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel as much like hard work, I guess, at the end of the day. But I took and failed the PNPT. I think it's important to mention that I've failed a couple of certifications because it happens. I learned so much from failing that when I went back and took it the second time, it was a breeze. And now I look back at it and think about how simple it was. But at the time, failing is important because it really taught me some things that I'll never forget, especially when it comes to testing. I will never forget how to use Hydra to password spray ever again in my life. I did that for probably a solid 12 hours, but yeah. So I did end up passing, and that was kind of my last set goal that I had to meet to become a pen tester. So I was living on like cloud 9, thinking, this is it, this is awesome, now I'm gonna be the coolest person on the planet. I did not yet, because I still had no idea what I was in for. The next one. December, I graduated. And I remember that when we're in Q4, we're very insane. We have a lot of clients that come and need testing for compliance. So we get very, very busy. It's like our Black Friday. So I remember Bobby was working on an engagement, and he told me to do some external recon to look into them. And then one day he goes, no, just do the whole test. And I remember that everything I had learned went completely out the window. It went out the window. I forgot how to use any kind of domain enumeration tool. I forgot even what a local and domain account meant. And that is just the dumbest thing to say out loud, but it really was. Like, it left me because you're finally in the thick of it, and those skills that you spent so many years learning are just not there. And I think it's important to normalize that that is totally normal. Like, that's a normal thing to happen to everybody, and that none of us are complete geniuses and know exactly what to do when we get into those environments. So It was terrifying, and somehow the customer was very happy. I never want to read that report, though, because it's probably the worst report I've ever written in my entire life. So that was fun to get thrown to the fire and to get a real pen test under my belt before I got the full-time position. It was great. Good surprise, bad surprise at the same time. Thanks, Bobby. Uh, it was definitely a bank. So in March of 2024, I was already in the thick of my job, and things were going okay, but then you really start to learn about the things that go wrong when you're in pen tests. Because when you're shadowing, most of the time, when something's going wrong and you're shadowing, they kick you off the call so they can figure out what the heck's wrong, because we're most time too frustrated to teach someone and fix a problem at the same time. So I'm really learning. All of my client meetings are very awkward, which is weird because I'm not generally an awkward person, but talking to clients in a new career, in a new field, and not being fully confident in what I know and what I've learned, that can be very awkward. And when clients are hearing about how you just pillaged their network, it's also 10 times more awkward. So having to explain how and why you were able to do certain things is super essential, but eventually it started to smooth itself out, and now I have no problem telling people, what's wrong with their network, how I was able to accomplish it, and what's necessary to get it taken care of, if that's what they choose to do. I was also very humbled with things that I thought I knew from Hack the Box, so like SQL, SNMP, things like that. Yeah, when you get into pen tests, all of a sudden you forget those things that weren't so cool to do during labs, and then you have to remember. So labs are important. Never skip the labs. And then in April, I can happily say that I got through the SANS Cyber Academy. So I did the GFACT, GSEC, and then the Incident Handler certificates that they have, certifications, and it was a journey. It was a lot. I was happy when it was over, super grateful, but I learned a lot through those certifications, a lot especially because I feel like when you're on the red team, you have to know a lot of both sides, red and blue, because not only do I need to know how to rip apart a network, I need to know why I could do that and what would stop somebody else from doing it. So if I'm not able to explain that, then anything cool I do within a network is irrelevant. It's irrelevant how I did it because I don't know how I did it. So learning both sides to me and being in that program itself was truly truly great. It taught me a lot that was super necessary that I probably felt too cool for in the beginning. I had a lot of that, and you get humbled out real quick, so listen to your teachers. I also, we had a red team engagement, and my boss convinced me to attempt to catfish a poor IT intern. He did not accept my friend request, but if he had, it probably would have gotten a little bit crazier. But yeah, those are just the types of things and ideas that we have and that we do use on real engagements, especially when they're super involved, like red team engagements. Those are definitely more in depth, way longer. We come fully prepared to go in silent. So if I can catfish the IT intern to let me use his laptop or something one day, cool. We'll use that. So it's evil, but it works. And then August, I failed the CRTO. That was my next big goal, was the CRTO, which is basically red team certified. You get to work a lot with C2 servers and things like that and do different exploits within their lab environment, and it was tough. It was very tough. At a time where I was like, I'm a pen tester and I'm really cool and I probably know it all, it definitely, you find those humbling moments, and had no idea how to even set up that server. So it was a big learning process, and I ended up passing it, luckily, the second time, which is great. And like I said, I take no shame in failing those things because I learned so much. So whenever a teammate doesn't do well on a test or something like that, I can't wait until they're on the other side of it and they can see and learn and realize where the failures have gotten us and what they've taught us rather than making us feel terrible. But yeah, and recently I got promoted to consultant, which is awesome. And yeah, it's just been an awesome journey of learning how to be organized. Now that I have my skills honed organization and being efficient about everything is super important to me. I want to be able to tell a customer when I opened a file and how I found it and in what file system I was able to find it. Because if we can't give them that information, we're just tinkering around in their networks, and that's not doing them any good. So definitely learning how to become more organized and responsible with the way that I do what I do has really honed in this last year and been super important. My key takeaways that I learned is that I've worked with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds at ProCircular, and everybody is a noob when it comes to something. I've had so many people ask me, you know, oh, I just don't think I could do that. I'm just not smart enough for that. Like I said, I didn't know what a hard drive was 5 years ago, and I'm not saying that, you know, everybody needs to be on the crazy learning scale that I was on, but everyone is a noob when it comes to something. When it came to me, because I was in the service industry prior to this job, social engineering, I did that on a daily basis, and I didn't even know it. You bring skills that other people aren't great at, and you just don't know it. So don't go into any situation ever thinking that you're the dumbest person in the room, because you're not. You're not. You're the smartest person about something in the room, and that brings quality to that team. So I think it's good to know where your strengths aren't and where they are, so that's always good, an important goal or lesson, I guess, that I learned. Every engagement is an opportunity. Every engagement, I will find something new that I've never messed with before, or anytime you have a lab or any kind of capture the flag, I really encourage people to try the things that make them uncomfortable. SQL was one of mine. I'm just really bad with SQL query commands. And so now every time I'm on an engagement where that's something that could possibly be exploited, I'll focus on it. And I think it's boring to go and do the same things that you know work, and it's boring to do the same attacks that get you the same credentials. So I think it's important to know that you can hone your skills even in basic pen tests, even if you're doing the same things over and over again. So finding opportunities within what you do to learn new things and skills, I think is super important. Don't force it. This is, I think, for any field. If you need a solution to a problem, for instance, for me, if I see an attack and I know it's vulnerable to something, and I start to do the process of exploiting that vulnerability and it doesn't work, sometimes I will be very hard-headed and bash at it for hours. And I've learned this year that even if it's a problem on the blue side, that bashing away at something isn't gonna make it work, unfortunately, sometimes. It depends. If it's like an old stereo or something, yeah, bash it. But other than that, don't force it. I mean, sometimes things just don't work. And don't get down on yourself just because, you know, you've seen other people exploit it and it didn't work in your case. It's not ever the same scenario. I've never been in two networks that were exactly the same ever. Not once. So, I mean, just don't beat yourself up and don't force things that aren't forcing themselves. So, if it feels insane, it's working. This is just my mentality. I felt like the last 3 years of my life have been insane, and I ended up getting the dream job that I dreamt about since I started cybersecurity. So, I feel like as long as the passion and the willingness to work hard is there, someone is going to see you, and they're going to help either give you or get you what you want to do in life, because attitude and drive and hunger are everything in this industry, because we are constantly learning, we are never done, and so you need to have that, or you'll burn out, and that sucks. But yeah, to always be obsessed with what you do, I think is important. And for future pen testers, be hungry. Even when you feel like you've learned it all, try something new. Try web app testing, try something different, try cloud testing. Like, there's so many different niches out there. Find something that drives you and keep learning, because there's so many different things that you can provide to a team and to an employer if you've worked on it. Staying hungry and honing in on your skills, or finding maybe your one particular niche, is super important. Scripting, don't blow through your Python class like I did. It comes into play. So yeah, I thought I was super cool and did not fully comprehend scripting when I was in school, and we use it all the time. We make little scripts, wow, for little things all the time. ChatGPT is my programmer right now, but some things come up where you need a script to do something for your testing, to either to make your life easier, to automate something. Learning a scripting language is so essential, and it's something super thought after. So if I could recommend anything, pick a language, master it, and I guarantee you you're gonna be ahead of everybody else who's applying for a job, guaranteed. Stay organized. Find a way to stay organized. This is a chaotic job where we are jumping all over the place. We'll see, a vulnerability here. We'll be doing 5 other attacks at the same time. It's so important to stay organized because we aren't doing this for fun. We're doing this for the customer. And if I can't tell them when I was poisoning their IPv6 addresses, it looks real bad. It looks real, real bad. So staying organized is something that's super important to me, and I think keeps everybody on the team accountable. And when you go to report or tell a client about what you did in their network that they handed to you with all the trust they have, you should be able to confidently tell them exactly what happened. Staying fresh, this is, our industry is always changing. And what I learn and know today will not be relevant in a year. The attacks I do the first time I enter a network are not going to be relevant. They're not going to work in a year, I hope. But there's new everything all the time, and if I don't hone or upgrade my skills, I'm useless. I'm useless to my team, I'm useless to my organization, I'm useless to the cybersecurity community. If I'm just good at doing the same old things, who cares? I mean, you need to evolve and adapt and stay on what's hot, stay on the attacks that are happening, why they're happening, who they're happening by. Those things are all essential. So even just a podcast in the morning when you're in the shower to stay in the know, super great. It can be very boring a lot of the time, but you catch things here or there. So staying on the scene for sure. And get uncomfortable. This one's tough, especially for a lot of people on the OCO team. We're very introverted now. We don't like speaking. We don't like networking. So definitely doing like networking and speaking and sharing knowledge makes us uncomfortable. I think that it's super important to do those things that make you uncomfortable, to do certain kinds of, say that doing blue team stuff makes me uncomfortable. I should do it because it does, simply for the fact that being uncomfortable and being able to sit there comfortably in uncomfortability, if that makes sense, is super important because, like I said, everything's changing. And if you're uncomfortable with learning or doing things that you find are hard, then you might not be in the right spot. Or you might just not be good with, yourself when it comes to that, because I'm uncomfortable like every other day. So, and I love it now. Finding something that I don't know how to break, it's a cool feeling to me. So, yeah. And now just questions and answers if anybody has any. Yeah. Okay. As far as certifications go, I'll be working on my CRTO too. I'm really big into red team side and malware creation right now. So it kind of depends on what's going on and what our team needs. But I've thought about it. But for right now, that's kind of something that's not on my radar, I guess. So yeah, so I think whatever benefits my team, and I don't know yet, that's what I go for. Because at the end of the day, if we have all the skills we need together, we're all rock stars. So, I can keep the bar low then if I just get the things. My favorite tool, wow.
Coffee maker.
Yes, that too. Yeah. My favorite tool would probably be, it's a new one. Okay, so it's a cloud one. It's called Graph Runner. I love it. Basically, I love messing around with cloud now, even if that's not something that they bring up as like part of the scope. I don't care. I will use, I'm just kidding. I keep it out of scope, but. So yeah, basically you get to bypass MFA and use somebody's credentials to get into their Azure AD environment, and there could be permissions on there that are not as strict as they are in their on-prem devices. So you get to be real sketchy. So Graph Runner tells you all the places and ways that you can be sketchy. So yeah.
Question? You got a mic.
If you had to do it again, would you take the same path? As in, like, the same way you take your certifications, going to school, doing that, or would you spread it out any?
I think any sane person would say to spread it out more for sure. My family, my professors, everyone I knew was worried about me. um, yeah. So I don't have any children, and I was very motivated in that. I'm in my mid-30s, and I hated what I did before this, which is bartending. So I was very motivated by that. So would I recommend other people do it at that pace? Probably not. But I would do it the same way, for sure. I did a lot of research ahead of time, so I knew that I wanted to do school certifications and hands-on experience, while also knowing what type of company I wanted to work for. So yeah, I think that you should do your own research and kind of figure out what's right for you, and definitely stick with that path. As long as you have reason and conviction behind it, some employer's gonna look at it and I think, really admire that you put the thought and effort into it, for sure. Did you have your hand up? Okay.
Oh, go front. You're hiding behind the light. First.
So, what kept you the most grounded through like the most like insane, hardest parts of your education?
Jack Honey? No, I'm just kidding. My teammates, honestly, and I'm not even saying that because they're in the room. My teammates have been the most supportive, chaotic, weirdest mofos I've ever met in my life, and I couldn't have done it without them, as well as professors, people that I idolized to help me get through it, for sure, and my family, and my husky, who's bad all the time. Okay, cool. Yeah, you don't really. You're crazy the whole time. So yeah, like I said, I don't think I slept. I didn't spend a day not studying, and all my friends knew that I missed birthdays. I missed a lot of things, and sometimes, for me, that was important to do because I had spent so many years wasting my life doing something that meant nothing to me. So now that I had this opportunity, it didn't really feel like as much of a sacrifice. So it's really up to you in your life, for sure. Put your hand down, Potter. No.
So I've done various IT roles over like 15 years. And I was just curious, like, I don't have any immediate plans to become a pen tester, but I would like to have more of a kind of like thorough-ish understanding of what you all do day to day. So is there like a training module or a certification that you would suggest to gather that information?
Yes. Anytime I meet anyone who's learning, TryHackMe has some amazing content. TryHackMe.com, they will give you labs that have you hands-on working with this stuff, with the tools and the concepts, and then they also give you the information, and the information is a gold mine. I recommend that, and then when you kind of get into more of like learning labs and how they work, Hack the Box. It's the both of them were, before I even knew how to use a VPN, I spent like a week trying to get on a Hack the Box box, and it taught me so much. I learned things that I wasn't learning in school, and it really kind of puts you, I think it's what really got me excited about doing what I do today, because I think back now, and I still remember things I learned that I can use during engagements. So super, it came full circle. So definitely those are two great ones for sure. Yeah.
Throughout your first year, what was what was your holy shit moment? It worked. All the labs, all the techniques you've used that you thought maybe they wouldn't work in a real world environment, what's your favorite holy shit that worked moment?
I actually know this. So I had just finished my incident handler with SANS, and they taught us about tools that you can use. So Microsoft Sign tools that you can use when you're doing a lay of the land, whatever, everybody calls it something else, but tools that are basically already on a computer that you can use to exploit it if you can't get malware on there. So I remember that I had a domain admin account, and essentially the situation called for I had to RDP into a computer onto a desktop and try to get all of the NTLM hashes of all of their users and compromise their domain. Well, Secret Stump was not working. If you know Secret Stump, it was blocked right away. I was kicked down, and I had to use the NTDS util tool, which still exists in Microsoft computers, and got me those files. And I thought, holy shit, I just learned about this in the SANS Academy and thought I would never use it. So yeah, that was where all that SANS work, and I got all the creds, so yeah.
Question here. So within your first year, first of all, this was awesome. Thank you for bringing this in. I've been doing this for a long time. You're exactly the drive, the spirit that we need in people coming into the industry.
How much are you offering?
Yeah, right.
I'm just kidding.
What's something you would change about the culture of the industry, within offensive security specifically?
I have the perfect answer for this. Gatekeeping. I would change gatekeeping. I hate it. I didn't grow up on 4chan doing all the cool hacker things that all the other kids did. I was a girl and cared way too much about boys. So yeah, I think there's something in our culture about not sharing tools, not sharing information, not sharing cool attacks. There's some kind of there needs to be a mystery and know-it-alls behind it, and that doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't benefit anyone, because no matter what, if you know it, somebody else probably knows it, and then eventually everyone's going to know it as well. So it does no good to try to hold on to secrets and not help other people grow and learn. I will always share anything I've ever learned. Any new sneaky attack, I will share it with anybody I meet, because I think that helps our community. And to gatekeep is just trying to keep yourself in first place when you know you don't belong there. So I hate that part, and that's the only thing I would change. Other than that, yeah, there's only been a couple of those, luckily. So everybody else has been great, and we've worked through problems together, and those have been the best moments, I think. Yeah.
What's your favorite unhealthy coping mechanism you've developed in the last year?
I can't talk about that. CrossFit. Yeah. I'm in a cult. Yeah.
You overdo it as.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an engagement where you couldn't find something, or is it just like everybody always has something open?
So finding something is a hard thing to define, because there's always something to find that I shouldn't see, because I'm not supposed to be there, right? But a lot of people, for us, it's like when we get DA, we won the day. Sometimes it is a competition when we're in ethical hacker mode, and if I get DA, I've won you. You are mine. So other than that, that doesn't happen every time. Some clients are, they have really good security maturity, they have great security stacks, and we don't get DA. But I will always provide what I can to the client after that. So say I can go in and find files of employee information, things like that, that maybe the person that I'm posing as should not be able to see. So getting DA provides really nothing to the client. It's about showing them and the people who they're trying to get funding for their security from, hey, listen, this girl who doesn't know us was able to come in here and find these W-2 files. and find our own banking routing number, like not routing number, account number. You know, that could have walked off, and if this were a 17-year-old kid that figured out how to get in, or a disgruntled employee, this is how bad it could be. So even if I'm not able to compromise their whole domain, it helps them understand and achieve like where those holes are that they can't see because they see their network all the time. So I always try to provide that, or you know, even things that are as small as like SNMP, you know, being able to see those community strings. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's a bunch of information about a device that probably gets you nowhere. But who's to say what they'll put there in the future? They need to know that that's something that can be exploited for now, for the future. So you always try to provide something, but no, I have yet to meet a client where I don't find anything to answer it in a quick way.
Any more questions? There's one.
All right. What is before you had training, what's the first thing that you hacked and made it so that you knew, like, I'm showing my age here really a lot when I say this.
I'm about to show mine with the answer, don't worry.
But the first thing I hacked was, it was an Atari 800 with keyboard, and it had a cassette tape drive.
Okay.
And me and my friends used to listen to the cassette tape and figure out how to copy games over.
That is a good skill, yeah. Pirating. Okay, mine was not as cool as pirating, but so not only did I HTML code my own MySpace profile, by the way, I also, when I would get grounded from our Windows 95 computer, I learned real quick that you can boot it into safe mode, change the local password, and log in. So my mom is not happy whenever I tell that story, but yeah, so you couldn't really punish me in that family. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. If anybody has any other questions, feel free. I'll have business cards up here as well, and you can always, you know, come bother me and we can chat. So thank you guys so much.
And